Go for it.
Welcome back. We're here with episode 3 of Fanatic Waco's Coffee and Comics. I'm joined here by Joshua Bueno and Armando Ramirez. And as always, I'm Daniel Flores. This week we're taking on Thanos Wins storyline by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw from Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Oh man! So fresh off of the Black Panther, we're back into comics instead of the movie.
We're actually doing comics this week.
Actually
not
comics?
movies. Actually comics. It's a Coffee and Comics video, and our first video was a movie.
Whoa.
Our first two.
Our first two, yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
So, all right. So before we begin, episode 2 might be a little different. We had a little bit of a problem, so this may come out in a little different order. This may not. Who knows? We'll just figure it all out. So
Think of it as a network taking your favorite TV show and then shuffling episodes around.
yeah, we're
To
just
make it work for them, not necessarily you.
We're just gonna do a little bit of a Joss Whedon type thing here.
Yeah.
So.
It's Pulp Fiction in serial form.
So this Thanos storyline, it's been one of the best sellers, and I know that because I tried to grab a couple of issues to read it up, and it's not a shelf stalker. A lot of the stuff lately has been, they'll have people pick up 5 or 6 copies, and the rest sits on the shelf at whatever comic, store is going on. But this thing is moving. This thing is selling. It's been one of the highest buzz things, and it's been one of the craziest.
Yeah.
And that's coming from my favorite thing that got put out last year was Infamous Iron Man, because that got batshit quick.
Yeah.
And so this is just
It's only this
different.
storyline is only three issues in.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's already just mind blown.
They've
It's
thrown
so much stuff from everywhere, all over the universe is in 3 issues.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you're like, whoa, I was not expecting this. Every panel you're reading, you're like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Who's gonna show up? Who's gonna pop in? Who's gonna be referenced? And it's really cool.
Yeah, so I wish I had gotten some so I could open it up and show you some of the art, because right out of the gate, that's my favorite thing about this is the art inside the panels is great. There's been a few publications and a few artists, few issues that kind of do just a quick doodle in the panel and then fill it with color and move on to the next, and there's none of this in that book.
No.
There's none of that in this book. I'd flip that. But
Yeah, you can look at this book and see that the artist has put a lot of little detail into each panel. That the colorist is probably now I have to go back and do extra work.
Right.
Which the color was great, I think, in it as well, because it wasn't I felt like reading, especially in maybe older series or older comics, when it's something that's cosmic, it's been maybe super exaggerated color.
Yeah.
But this, it seemed like it had a lot of dark tones, but you could still tell that it was out in the cosmos and out in space, and,
Right.
Something that wasn't from on Earth.
Right.
Well, that was really cool about it, I thought.
Even in Thanos' facial coloring, we know he's purple, his skin is purple, but they don't have just thank you, look what they got you, Danny.
They got me plate bacon.
Plate bacon.
I will get some foil and make pocket bacon out of this later.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, King's Landing kitchen staff.
But yeah, now go on, kill it.
Please continue talking.
So, even, we know his skin's purple, this little guy here, we know his skin's purple, but even in his coloring, they've got, your blacks and your inks on the figure, but they've got at least 2 shades of purple on every panel from the colorist, just straight up. Yeah. It's not that someone grayscale rendered this and then they put 1 layer of purple over it and called it done. There is time taken in every panel of this book.
Yeah.
And so it's a true treat to read. I feel like this is one of the first books that is worth the cover price.
In a while.
Yeah, in a while. At least this year. At least of this year.
Yeah. The art team is doing tremendous work here.
Yeah.
Jeff Shaw and his inker. No, I think he's the artist. and then he has just a colorist. Like I think he's doing pencils and inks, and then he has a colorist.
Wow.
Donnie Cates, the writer for this, for every twist and turn from page to page, that's the guy who you got to thank right there.
Yeah.
Right.
He's just like a wealth of knowledge, and he's putting it in like every little detail.
Yes.
You were talking about the splash pages earlier.
Yes.
When you look at the splash pages, they're not there for just ornament. They're not ornamental splash pages.
Yeah.
It
They
means something.
tell story.
Yeah.
They tell story. They move the story.
And it
forward.
all connects. It's
Yeah.
not just like, here's something for you to just see and
Right.
to wait until the next issue or to wait until the next panel. It's like it connects to everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
what
like,
makes it good.
There's a reason for that splash
Yes.
page to exist.
yeah, and as much substance that they've put in like page spreads, splash pages, or panels, I feel like that's the substance that you've gotten out of a lot of these other drawn out titles. I mean, there's not tinfoil around that, bro. I don't know. I don't know how to
It
handle
needs
that.
that flavoring, right?
I feel like that's been from 2-page to 2-page is as much substance in some of those as whole books that have been out in certain other series. Like
Right.
it's just they're breezing through the history of his old
His
King
ascendance.
Thanos winning.
His ascendance. Yeah.
But they're doing it so well.
I think that's another beautiful aspect of this story, as they're showing King Thanos, they're showing his ascendants, but they're also showing the other characters on the side.
right.
Because one of the big surprising characters in this storyline is the Cosmic Ghost Rider,
Yes.
and that guy is insane.
I had to go back and read a couple panels because I was like, I'm not sure if I'm understanding like how cool this concept is.
Right.
You know, and I had to go back and read a couple and look at the artwork, and it was just truly like captivating. Like I was like, this is awesome. I never would have, because you think Ghost Rider, you think of like of a guy on a bike, but you think him riding through alleyways and catching thugs, and but you never think of him on a cosmic level.
Yeah.
You know, related to the whole universe. How'd he get there? Like, where'd he come from? Who is he? Which they tell later.
Right.
And it's like, man, it's shocking,
Yeah.
And it was good. It was awesome.
That reveal.
Like, I was just like, what? I was like reading it at work, and I was like reading it silently, and I had my headphones in, and then I was like, what? And I looked up, and people were like looking at me like, and that's the reaction you want to get from something like that.
Yeah.
Because for a while, with his actions and his manner of speak and his nonchalant way of just, I'm killing everything, everyone who was reading this series knew in their heart of hearts, this was Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yes,
It was,
you knew it.
exactly.
You
thought
knew
it was
you were like,
Deadpool.
this is some goofy character
Yeah.
that like got this awesome power, and now he's just like running amok, like, and he's just doing whatever he wants, and he's like, and it turned out to be something like completely different.
Completely.
Yeah, and it just hits you with like, nope, I am indeed one of the most serious, dark,
Yes.
and brooding characters before I got the Ghost Rider. Let alone add all of like the rabble penance, rabble sin. Like,
Yeah.
And then you kind of feel a way like good about it, because the character, his past, he's been through like so much and in so much like trial and tribulation. You're like, man, this guy finally gets a break to where he can just like not worry about like what his heartache
Well, 'cause
that he's
there's
been
no
through.
one-
Now he's just there's no one right.
There's no one left to
There's no one
punish.
left.
There's
Yeah,
no one left-
exactly.
Oh, and if you
Haven't guessed by the way.
the Cosmic Ghost Rider is Frank Castle, the Punisher.
The Punisher. Out of all characters.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you would it would make sense if he would have turned into the Ghost Rider, because it's like the same
Right.
run through alleyways and doing getting thugs, but he's on a cosmic level.
right.
He's not even on Earth anymore.
No.
And it's awesome.
He's imbued with the power of Cosmic. He was a Herald of Galactus. And now he works. Now he's like the right-hand man for Thanos.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, I hope in the next issue, it's gonna be part 4 of the story by the time this comes out. Because
Right.
we've only read up to part 3, so
Right.
spoilers for part 3. But then besides that, we're right there with you.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
waiting to see what happens. And I think in the next issue they said they're gonna talk about how he got you know, the power of Cosmic.
Yeah,
and
like,
stuff
and I
turned
hope-
into the Ghost Rider.
I don't know, like, is it going to be before he got the Ghost Rider, or was he the Herald after he got the Ghost Rider, or that's going to be interesting to see if they give him yet another really awesome look for us to take in, because I'm almost excited to have that same character with this artist in a new costume for them to draw. Like, it's gonna be insane.
And then the costume, just the aspects of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, like how he has the helmet in
Yeah.
space. It's a motorcycle helmet, but it's like a space helmet.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's one of those classic
it's like
50s like big bubble helmet,
big bubble
in
helmet,
space and everything.
it's like it's containing his fire, because you know if you go out in outer space, the oxygen kills the fire. But it's like the concept of that is so
which doesn't make sense
because
he's a Ghost Rider.
He's a Ghost Rider. He's
And
like,
it's like-
supernatural, but you
Yeah.
kind of get that feeling of why does he need a helmet? But it's like it's cool looking, and you
Yeah.
can relate to it. It's
Well,
like
and I feel like that keeps his human element
Yeah.
aspect. Like, that
Right.
off the bat told me that whoever this was from Earth.
Yeah.
Because whenever they, he takes the Silver Surfer and was like, okay, well, now you can breathe in space.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, okay, that's cool, but all right, well, we're making you silver now. Like, and so I feel like with this one, it's one of those, like, either he kind of skipped that, or maybe that's one of the things he lost when Galactus finally passed, is that the power cosmic doesn't let you breathe in space. It just lets you have all of the laser beams and all of that kind of stuff.
And it was kind of cool too, because there's always been this. I feel this argument with people who read comics, who read the Punisher, who think, some people think like, well, his actions are legitimate. He's punishing crime. But then some people think, well, he's gone crazy. Like, family got killed and he went crazy, so he's already insane. But this shows you that his true insanity is a completely different person.
Right.
Like, he's not, he's kind of laughable, and
He's as the Punisher, he's a broken man.
yes.
Trying to make people pay. He hasn't gone insane.
Yeah.
He's broken and he's on a mission now. And he's using everything, every skill, every kill that he's learned from military training, special ops training.
Right.
He's going to go out and exact his revenge. But as the Ghost Rider, he is completely insane.
Yeah.
And it says it in the story.
Yeah.
He spent decades, centuries in hell.
Well, this is literally millions of years
Yeah.
after, like,
Yeah.
the word million pops up several times
Yes.
by the narrator, which we still don't know if the narrator is an author or if the narrator is a character, or if that's, the big reveal on
Right.
the last page of 3, if that's him himself talking.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
I tend to want to think that the narrator is King Thanos, looking back, remembering, because time is funny,
Yeah.
and when you set in motion something, like he sends the Cosmic Ghost Rider to pick up his younger self, boom, automatically that should create a memory
Right.
from this whole interaction. So that might be, to me, King Thanos narrating that one aspect from that moment in time, and then as he brings him forward, there's like,
Yeah.
We're
So
going
doing
here.
it kind of Ryan Johnson
And
Looper
see-
style.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I think that makes a lot of sense, because the way that they set this kind of story up, the way that I interpret it is, we've always seen Thanos in previous stories as already like on top, like, and it, obviously in this he's like, his future self is already won,
Right.
he's like the king and stuff. But in other stories, there's always been somebody to combat that, like, and he's always been this powerful, coming in, wrecking stuff, and now he's got a, like, he seems kind of arrogant. He seems, because he is his younger self, but he seems arrogant. He seems like he's not too sure, and like he knows what he's doing, and he's learning from his older self, and it's putting Thanos in like a different light as someone who's like kind of taking on a mentor,
Right.
and that's kind of like, I get that feeling that the narrator is King Thanos, because he's telling like how younger Thanos like learned, how he came to this point, how
Yeah.
and it's kind of making sense, But it's
Yeah.
cool to see Thanos in that light as not the big guy on the younger Thanos is not the big guy on top, is not like in total control.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty cool aspect to see, I think, in starting off reading it.
Well, and I like their dynamic with each other,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're both clearly Thanos. Like, they both
Yeah.
leaps and bounds. But the younger one is like, you're weak. Like, I see what you've become, and you're weak. and he doesn't realize that it's like, okay, I'm weak, but we got everything you want. Like, this is what happens. Like, we got stuff you're still wanting, and this is what happens. You're seeing what you will be once you get everything you want, and you already don't like it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested after this is over, what that's gonna do to him.
What kind of effect it's gonna have on young Thanos?
Yeah.
Like, he's seen the future, he knows he wins, and it's a terrible existence for him.
Yeah.
Because to him, he is weak. He needs someone. He has this fool of a lackey. He has a dog.
Yeah.
We'll get into the dog in a minute.
Yeah.
And he has this lost love.
Right, and he's basically left with like a pet and a jester. And
Yeah.
he literally is this old lonely king, and he has a jester in his massive courtyard built out of, fucking Galactus's skull, like, and he's just I hope doing this last thing will, get me what I really want.
Yeah.
And so it's
That's
such
one
a crazy
thing that, like, we were talking about earlier, that how they showed, like, little splash pages or panels that connected everything. So talking about, like, the Skull of Galactus. And other comics, you always see something like that. But they never really explain, like how it got there, like, what happened. But, like, in this story, they showed the panels. You see where, like, Thanos, like, Galactus' head was, like, ripped off. And it's like, that was so cool to see. It's like, that's how it happened. It's awesome, And he had Black Bolt on the...
And hit him and like,
it's like, man, you see the battle happening, and it connects everything, and it's so cool.
Well, and I was telling him every splash page you see serves a purpose. It's not like in
It's not like in
Secret,
90s Image comics.
right? Where it's just like, look at the characters fighting in the rain in this pose, and then look at them jumping in this pose.
Yeah.
But it's not like in Secret Empire where they had that whole splash page dedicated to like dead Black Widow, and it wasn't like the moment it happened for maximum input. It was like, bam, kill Black Widow, cut to the next page, and there's her just like slouched up dead ass, like for a whole, like they wasted a whole splash page for a dead body. And I get that it was supposed to carry impact, but it was implemented at the wrong time and on the wrong action at that time.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten any of that out of this book.
No, yeah. I think with like a splash page like that, they're trying to go for that impact, that impactful scene.
That shock value for shock value's
like,
sake.
But we just saw her die.
Yeah.
We just saw her die, so we know she's dead. You don't need to show the splash page.
Yeah.
Right.
But with this, yeah, all the splash pages have meaning. Do you want to talk about the dog?
Man, that dog was something else. Like, and part of it was, so some of that's been spoiled by the net. Like, you see the post that Cosmic Ghost Rider himself was spoiled on the net a week or two before the book actually came out. And so, like, the dog, obviously, I'm sure one of y'all have seen it by now.
Yeah.
He has Maestro Hulk. It's not even Hulk Hulk.
It's not even Hulk. It's Maestro, the Maestro.
Yeah, and he's chained up in just this cellar of all these bones of stuff he's just eaten. So they leave him there with his leftovers in this pit, and he's just at an all-time low compared to, seeing him in Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
And he's just, the only thing we get out of him the entire thing is just like, kill Hulk, kill, like,
he's so like, just, it's like, what is this, like, how did this happen? Like, he's
Right.
like, he's like, I don't know, he's a dog, like, that's what he is.
He's been beaten.
He's been beaten, he's been trained,
lobotomized or something.
So
Yeah.
he's been tamed, like, to where it's just like something clicked in his head, and he's like, okay, I'm just this way now.
yeah. And I feel like that reveal held much more weight than others have in the past, or even in this issue, because they illustrate to what level Thanos has won. Who he's beaten, who he's killed, what he's killed, how much he's killed, how hard he killed it. Like, but then they have this Hulk here, and it's like, man, that's truly how you can tell he won. It's not that he killed the Hulk because he could, obviously.
Right.
It's one of those, like, that guy pissed me off so much that I've got him here as this dog. He's clearly not the most powerful opponent that he could have enslaved.
Yeah.
Because he killed Galactus. He could have enslaved Galactus eventually. Like,
Yeah.
but to have him here just out of spite, wanting to die, that in my eyes, is the one. If all this happens and old King Thanos gets murked in the next issue in one shot at the beginning and the rest is whatever, this is what you're taking away from old King Thanos at the end of the day, is that he had Maestro as a puppy. Like,
Yeah.
insane.
And then it's like like reading that part, I was so focused on it that I didn't even care when they mentioned they were like, oh yeah, you'd be surprised when his reaction when he said, what did he say when he was like, when we fed Rogers to him?
Yeah.
I was just like, Rogers who? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
even care. I was so focused on the idea that Maestro is a pet. Like,
Well, and I liked young Thanos' reaction when he was like, Rogers, like,
yeah,
because he's
Because-
just grasping, like, I
is-
killed Captain America, like,
Because if you've read Infinity Gauntlet, Captain America stood up to Thanos. Like, he was the
Yeah.
one who walked right up to him and stood right up to him. You know? And so that weighs on the Mad Titan's mind
Yeah.
daily. That this man had the gall to stand up to me, a proposed god. You know? So
And that's what-
the surprise.
yeah, and that's what. There's lots of different elements of that where he sees, like you said, it's in front of him that he's won, but there's still things being thrown at him that are
surprising
him. Like
Yeah.
when he looks in the Ghost Rider's skull,
Yeah.
and he sees the penance stare.
yeah, it shows him his greatest hits album, basically.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much,
what?
Yeah, and then,
We're gonna run through all of them right now.
Yeah, and he's just like beautiful. Like he thinks it's so
Yeah.
to him, and it's still surprising to him. And it's like there's little things like that still are, and that makes it good.
But part of the reason I'm sad that I don't have one particular issue in front of me was to rub it in your face, because when it starts
I know what you're gonna
when it
say.
starts
I know what you're
the
gonna say.
Busted busted people montage, the
And he's
first
dragging
dude,
Namor down.
the first
oh
dude
my
in the
God.
top right corner is getting murked like a little bitch is Namor, and he's getting dragged like a Barbie doll.
That
son.
was epic, man.
So-
I love that little panel.
Yeah,
That was
but
awesome.
I was reading the book and I was like, oh, Mondo isn't happy right now.
I actually was, because I feel like the characters that I love, if they're gonna go out, I want them to go out in an epic way.
I don't know. That wasn't epic
to
though.
be-
He was.
It's connected.
Well, you didn't see the fight.
That's true.
and
there's
it's-
no
and it's,
telling
and it's
what
connected
happened.
to something that led to something epic.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Donald just went down there to like take over Atlantis. This was him like taking over the whole universe, like, or
Right.
the whole Earth, like. And so it led to something that was epic, and that's why it was. And I can just imagine the fight.
Yeah.
That's a good thing about comics. Is you can use your imagination to imagine
Yeah.
things, and this is how it went down.
See, the way I imagine it is water is 3/4 of the earth. You kill the majority ruler,
That's
and now
true.
all you have are little sections.
Yeah.
Because if you notice in the next one, he demolishes the X-Men.
Yeah.
And then in the finale, it's the Avengers.
Yeah.
If you don't have those two to back you up, no Fantastic Four, whatever, it's a pretty much clean sweep. You're just walking. You're just walking at that point.
Right.
So
Well, and I like how a lot of the people that were in those panels in that montage, they weren't human. Because he kind of, I think even from a tactician point of view, it's one of those like, the humans are going to die because they're humans. Like, I don't have to try and kill them. If I kill these guys that live forever, I can wait them out if I have to. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he went down there and crunched some skulls.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's what makes Thanos a really cool character too, is because not only is he like super powerful, but he's like highly intelligent.
yeah,
So he's not just this bust him up character that, yeah, he has a power, he could just go in and crack skulls, but he does it in a way, like you said, that's tactical and like that would make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
and that plays into like seeing this highly intelligent character become dumbfounded. Like, for a split
Yes.
second after he sees Hulk Dog, he's dumb because he's.
Yeah.
And it all comes back right there, but he's legitimately dumbfounded. And I don't think there's many things that have ever made him feel that way.
That's why I was saying earlier, it's good to see him in that light, to where he's like, kind of like, I wouldn't say like naive, but he's kind of new. This is all new to him, kind of like.
Right.
And it makes him look like a different character, but he's kind of still the same character. I don't know if that makes sense, but and it was really cool seeing him like that.
And so I've liked, so as far as like the actual story arc, a lot of what we've seen is basically the history. We haven't
Yeah.
really seen anything new happen since he got he got his ass dragged through time with the time zone.
Yeah.
Which was
with the time-
hilarious.
That was
oh my
awesome.
god,
Which was hilarious.
I was dying.
At the T'Challa, they were like, "Thank God!" And like at the end, because they
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they don't have to deal with this guy for a while.
But I do like that the premise of this time travel story is it's not a Back to the Future something went wrong, we have to save this time zone that everyone else does, even a lot of the comics have done. It's, I brought you through this future not to fix this fucked up future because I fucked this up and it's what you wanted, so we messed this up.
Yeah, this was intentional.
This is to help me finish messing this up.
And to get my girlfriend back.
Well, yeah,
it's
get my girlfriend back.
It's a cause-effect type thing.
Yeah.
Because he has to finish this last encounter in order to win his love back.
Right.
So, but the last encounter on the last page of the third issue, that does not look like a happy, fun time.
No.
Yeah. Well, and he comments that there's only this one living being left, and so it's one of those, again, spoilers, but the main person he hasn't killed yet turns out to be this radically different Silver Surfer, and he's the same in design, but he's clearly a lot darker in his illustration, his color, his posed body language in just that one shot.
It's a more menacing.
Yeah.
Like if surfing were dangerous, like instead of using a board, you use like a shark.
Right.
This is how you would ride the shark through the water.
And so this is like the one being he's mentioned the one several times, but there's something he's dragging behind him that it's clearly more than one at this point, and I'm wondering what the hell that actually is.
It looks like the Annihilation Wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and he refers to the Surfer as the Fallen One, or at least Thanos believes he refers to the Surfer as the Fallen One. In reality, it's the title that this entire body, this entity.
Yeah, because he says it. He says, "Oh boy," he's like, "You mistaken the Fallen One. It's a title."
Yeah.
Like that's the last.
You
thing
earn it, and once you earn it, you're part of this mass.
Right.
So
I'm wondering if this is like a flesh golem Borg thing playing on that Annihilation Wave, or is this like all of us final things that are alive we're pulling together in something that we shouldn't, to try and finish taking this over.
yeah, I don't know. I would like to think that it's an even worse thing than Thanos.
Right.
It has to be for
him
someone
to be
who's
scared.
For him to be, because he says he wasn't, but he is. He's generally scared. You can tell.
Yeah.
And for him to like completely take over everything, and then to still be worried about this, it's got to be something that's massive and something that.
Well, and showing the tools that he has available to him. He doesn't have the time stone, but he's got a part of the time
got a
stone.
fragment of it.
It's a pretty high functioning time stone.
Yeah.
So he's got that. He's got this Ghost Rider Herald,
Imbued with the power cosmic.
imbued with the cosmic, with the chains made from the
the
bones.
bones of Sidorak.
Yeah, and so it's like he's got all of these artifacts. He's got the sword, I'm blanking on it, but Surtur, yeah.
Surtur's knight. It's the flaming sword of Surtur.
Yeah.
Who brings about Ragnarok for Asgard.
Right. So he's got like the Armageddon sword. He's got an Infinity Stone. He's got this overpowered homebrew D&D character of a Ghost Rider.
He's got chains. He's got chains that are powered by the Sidorak crystal, which gives the Juggernaut his strength.
Yeah.
And the bands of Sidorak, which is what Doctor Strange uses to hold shit like the Hulk.
To hold shit.
Entire dimensions together.
Yeah.
The Crimson Bands of Sidorak.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
And so it's like for him to have all of these at his disposal and still bring himself in as backup, he could say he's not scared all he wants.
Yeah. All that
But he's
shit
scared, though.
It's telling a different story. It's telling a different story.
It is. And yeah, man. So it's very interesting to see what the Surfer is going to be like. Because he's got to be in a different light than what he's normally been
Right.
to survive this long. And it's just it makes me think like, man, it's cool.
It's so cool. This is probably one of the best stories I've read from Marvel.
From either of the big guys, I think.
Yeah.
Like, either of them. And it brings up...
In at least 3 years. At least.
Yeah.
It could be more.
Yeah, because... I wish DC would have... You mentioned they do have some Darkseid content out right now.
Oh!
But
yeah,
Darkseid should be a bigger player than he is right now. And right now they're just pushing, like, look, more medals, like, more evil Batmans.
Evil Batman. Such a waste.
Scuba Batman. Scuba activated Batman. With
like, the next event's going to be, like, evil Green Lanterns. Oh, wait, we've done that. I guess we'll do evil Wonder Womans now. Like...
And that's at the end of Medals number 5.
Is it?
There's an alternate dimension where... Like, all these different versions of Evil Wonder Woman exist.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, DC is doing something cool with Darkseid, but it's in the Mr. Miracle series.
Oh, okay.
That Tom King is writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that was good. I've been meaning to pick... I love Mr. Miracle. He's, like, one of my favorite characters. And I've been wanting to get it because Tom King... I love Tom King. I feel like a lot of people, like...
Uh-oh.
No. Yeah, go ahead. But
no. Okay.
It's okay for us to talk about Darkseid because Thanos is a ripoff of Darkseid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If we pivot to Darkseid, we're still talking about Thanos.
Right. Mondo drew the same character twice here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Come on,
like,
there you go, right there.
Yeah.
That tells you something.
Anyways, continue. Tom
No,
King.
I was just gonna say I think Tom King, at least from the people that I've connected with about comics, is they don't seem to like him for some reason, and I don't know why because everything that he's put out has been great. I think.
It has been.
Like, and even some of the stuff that I don't normally read, I would gravitate towards too because I liked his writing. Like, he's such a good writer.
Right.
And so I have to check out that Mr. Miracle because I've been wanting to get that.
It is very good.
Is it like, how did they go about it? Is it something that's like completely new, or they just picked up with the character and went with like from what he?
So it is a completely new story. But you know Mr. Miracle's thing. He is ultimate escape artist.
Yes, right.
He tries to escape life.
Wow.
By committing suicide. Or escape. He tries to escape death by committing suicide and coming back, which he does.
All right.
But there's a twist, I think. I think, and there's only 6 issues out so far.
Okay.
I think that he is trapped in I think he's in a box of some sort that Darkseid has created, and he's suffering because every issue is just this piling on of him, and people pulling him in one direction and another direction, and he's still dealing with the fact that I committed suicide and I have to deal with that. People look at me funny like, am I okay? I'm fine. I'm really not, but I'm fine.
That's pretty deep, man.
Yeah,
that's
like
super deep.
But then an issue like, and High Father is dead. Orion has ascended to the throne of New Genesis, and he is, because Orion is Darkseid's real son.
Yeah.
So he has that in him. He immediately goes to war with Apocalypse.
Oh.
And so, like, I think issue 3, he calls Barda and Mr. Miracle back to New Genesis. I need you for the army. You are my generals. And so issue 4 is just fight after fight after fight on different fronts. Mr. Miracle, you're needed here. Mr. Miracle, you're needed here. Mr. Miracle, this front is falling. Mr. Miracle, lead the charge here.
So they've got him in like one of the like Twilight Zone premises, basically.
It's just an endless loop of him continuously pushing himself after committing suicide because he doesn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
There are little touches here and there that make me think that he's in a trap because in one panel, Barda's eyes are blue or purple, violet. And then in another panel, they're brown. Huh. And he calls it out. He's like, your eyes are brown. She goes, they've always been brown. And he's kind of thinking like, no, they haven't. No, they haven't.
All right.
but they're like throughout each book, there's always like just a solid black panel with words. It just says "Dark Side is." Dark Side is. That's all it is. And that's the inevitability of Dark Side.
Yeah.
Which is also the inevitability of Thanos.
Yeah.
They just are. They will outlast everything.
Yeah.
Everything will die, and it is because either Darkseid is there or Thanos is there.
See, and that's what they talked about in this Thanos story, because they were talking about what did they say about a person with a gun or something?
Oh, like a person who dies by a bullet?
Yes.
Like they already died the second that bullet was made?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like when Thanos came into existence, right? When they come into existence, they're already established as like the highest order of like anybody.
Right.
The moment he was born, the universe died.
Yeah.
To someone who is an immortal, it's a blink in time.
Yeah.
That's the message they were trying to get. Like the bullet.
And that's kind of like you always feel those way with those two characters because they never have to make an appearance, until like the very end to where stuff all goes down because it's like that. They're already known that they're gonna wreck stuff.
Yeah.
They don't have to like do it. They're not worried about like somebody like fighting them or anything because they know the outcome is theirs. Like they know it.
Right. It's that imminent force, and it's kind of what they're trying to make him into in the movie. Like there was an article that went out that one of the, I want to say it was Feige. It could be one of the Russo brothers instead that said it, but they said that they're wanting to make Thanos more of like Marvel's Darth Vader, where Darth Vader is just that overlooming presence, and it's one of those perfect example was the end of Rogue One. Like Vader doesn't have to show up all throughout Rogue One, but the second you hear that breather going, whoever's right there is gone. Like you know
his power, you know all his skills, you know everything about him.
Yeah, like the second that inhaler kicks off, you know these guys better have some life insurance, dude.
I would be really. I hope they do it like that with when they do the Infinity War. I hope they make him like that because it'll make him more epic. It'll make everything that they've built up to it more, as opposed to them like just a slugfest. I think.
Right.
Right.
And I hope they redeem it because I really don't feel like he got anywhere close to the screen time he should have gotten for Guardians
for anything.
Yeah,
he's
for
been in
anything.
just now.
So it's like I really hope it lives up to what's been built.
Yeah.
But no, to go back to that writing that pointed out how imminent it is, that's some of the most well done narration along those lines since probably Annihilation, like the Annihilation wave.
Yeah.
And so it really feels like that flavor is coming back, and they're not speaking in cliches. They're not like writing, just Thanos wins every time, like they're going into detail and using actual descriptive language, subskirting the graphic part of having a graphic novel or comic book, but they're also adding flavor text to it. Like it's,
like the point where they're describing like his birth and stuff.
Yeah,
it was like so majestic and it was so deep, and then they're like, oh, and then at age like 12 he kills his mom. Like, and it it's still an epic part, but the way they led up to it, it made it feel like, wow, that's intense. And you didn't even have to show anything or like, show a panel or show like, and it was crazy. It made it feel real. Like you related to it. Like, whoa, this dude killed his mom.
Right, and I feel like the descriptive flavor and language in there could be read to someone who isn't looking at the book.
Yeah,
and they'll get.
And
they'll get a painting in their head.
That's exactly what I did with reading this, because normally, like, art will sell me on any book. Like, I'd read a crappy story if it had good art in it.
Right.
But this, I started reading it.
I've read crappy stories.
Looking at this book, like, I had to go back and look at the panels because I wasn't even looking at the panels. I was just reading and like, man, and then I was like, oh wait, let me go back and look. Oh, this is awesome art. That's how I had to do it, and that's how good the writing was.
Yeah, I haven't had to do any double checks like that, go backwards like that since I I guess Civil War had a couple of those moments in the main book that made you turn back. Like, wait, what? That really was Cap getting shot? Like, there were a couple moments like that where you turned backwards, but I don't think I've had to do a legit double take like that in a while. Since at least Civil War. Maybe one in between there, but
Yeah.
everything's been very like, this text goes with this picture. This text kind of goes with this picture, so read this first. And it's never been where you almost have two creative forces telling the same story side by side like that in a long time.
Yeah. Not concentrated like this. There have been moments here and there in certain stories, but we were talking about that earlier, how they'll have multiple artists on a story, a main story.
Oh god.
Like one of the big like Avengers versus X-Men or Secret Empire, just more recently.
Yeah.
And they had like 3-4 artists on that book, and in each issue it was like 3 or 4 artists, and it would just take me out of the book.
Yeah, it's
Take
like
me
they
out of the story.
It's like they Oprah Winfrey that, like, you get a page, you get a page, you get a page, like,
Yeah.
oh. And it
kills them. It kills the mood, man.
Yeah.
It's like flipping through channels on a TV.
Yeah.
Like, you're sitting there. You just do it to do it. Like you're trying to find something to watch, but you're getting in the habit of, and that's what you're doing when you're looking at different artists. You're just like, well, it's in front of me. I'm reading it. I'm looking at it.
yeah.
But you're not captivated by it.
Right.
And
You're
it'd be
not-
different if the artists were maybe like close friends with each other and they could all kind of mimic each other's style. But it was radically different. Like in one page, Carol Danvers would have more of like that. She looked like a clone of Scarlett Johansson, just like plump and rounded and all of that. And then in the next page, you see like she's got that pointed chin jutting out in her stern face, and her cheekbones are sunk in or not there at all. Like, so it's like she goes from, you know, like 50s pinup to like Mr. Ed from one page to the other, and you're just like, what?
Harsh.
What happened?
Ouch.
Like, and it's like one or another by itself wouldn't be 50s pinup or Mr. Ed, but compared to each other, it's that different.
Yeah.
But that's the selling point. That's one of the selling points for me, is just how strong the artist is on this book. He's able to do it, and because it's a low ranking book, it is super popular, but it's not like Iron Man or Captain America or Spider-Man where they expect it to be on the shelf on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's not hitting his deadlines, because he clearly is.
Right.
He clearly is.
But he's given more time.
Yeah.
And I think
They're
he's
not-
able to tell more story per page,
Right.
because it feels like a lot of the big guys, you know, I'm a huge Iron Man collector. It's really the only issue that I have to have when it comes out. But they're 4 issues in on the search for Tony Stark right now, and they've just kind of been going in circles.
Right.
Tony's been out of his life support pod on the floor for like 3 issues while people run around.
But how much of that is Bendis?
Exactly.
Because Bendis loves to stretch a story out.
Yeah.
Whereas Donny Cates, it's 3 issues, about to be 4 issues this week, but each book is just packed with enough stuff to keep you entertained and involved with the story going forward.
Right.
There's no stretching out of dialogue. There's no snarky retorts, unnecessarily snarky retorts.
Unless, I don't know, the Ghost Rider's getting a little...
He has snarky retorts, but they're not unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, it's not something that's just like out of the blue. It's
Right.
like it's all related to
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Well, and that's one thing that made me think it's not Deadpool whenever I was reading it, because he's not all over the page like Deadpool is, because Deadpool is obnoxious to read. I'm sorry.
Deadpool
Like,
has just gotten to insane where it's like, let's just do whatever we want with him. Like,
Yeah.
Let's have him break the fourth wall.
But-
Let's have him like.
what happens to an insane person when they go insane?
they get sane.
They get sane.
Yeah.
So
That's,
I could
that's
see.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So, overall impressions of the book so far?
Dude, it is epic. Like, I'm so glad like I started reading this, because I never would have thought to pick it up, because
Right.
I'm so in the habit of when I read comics to get what I know, get what I like, get the characters that I like. And not saying that I don't like Thanos, but I didn't grow up reading a lot of Thanos.
Right.
Like, you know,
Well, and
so
he was an outlier a lot
yeah,
of times.
he was always like, we're gonna bring him in for this issue, and you know, but you know, Adam Warlock is like the main
Right.
guy, you know. But he's a cool character, but we're gonna bring him in, and we're just gonna make this all about Alan Warlock or make this about the Avengers or make it whatever.
Right.
But here he's the focus, and when reading it really got me into the character to where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It's more complex than just like coming in and like trying to conquer everything.
Right.
Like, and that's what made me like really love it. And so now I'm probably gonna like start picking up all the issues.
Yeah.
Go back and trying to find all the back issues and stuff like that.
Right. I think it's with this new reboot thing coming up. I think they're gonna work this into it
I would love to see that.
because you see the subtle hints at the very beginning of them doing that soft retcon for the Chitauri
Right.
to make them more like you saw in the movie.
Yeah.
And so I think going forward, this book not only is a great book by itself, but I think a lot of people at Marvel see how great this book is and have given him that free reign because it's going to set the tone. And so I think at the end of the day, this is going to be the hardback that everyone is going to want right there with their collected edition of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
like,
This is probably going to be the Bible for the Marvel Universe going forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's that sleeper hit, and it's a cult classic happening right in front of your eyes.
Exactly.
It's great.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm all on board. I hate the whole variant plague thing going on, but if issue 4 comes out with like 12 variants, you got my money. Like, that's it right there.
Shut up and take my money.
Shut up and take my money. All of it.
Well, obviously, I love it, or else I wouldn't have suggested it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man.
I feel like I've spoken enough. Like I've thrown enough accolades at this book already.
Right.
Like even not on video, but in our chats and everything. Like, oh, you gotta read this book. You gotta look at the art.
Right.
These guys are killing it.
3 drinking draws in a row.
Yeah.
That's all we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
like
what-
we've got to do.
Yeah,
an
when you mentioned it
episode
last
then.
time, I was like, Thanos, okay, like he's cool when you go. And then I was like, I went and read it so we could talk about it today, and I was like, wow, I should have been doing this like
Yeah.
Exactly.
a long time ago,
Well, and now, like along the same veins, I've heard a lot of praise for the Old Man Hawkeye that they've got going on.
That's,
Really?
Yeah.
That's epic, man.
Yeah,
I
and so
started-
it's like I kind of want to get into that because if
That'd be
this
next.
is
That'd be next.
right,
I'll let you choose. I'm done pushing Thanos.
right,
You
right.
guys read it. I'm happy.
But if this is the route Marvel's going to start taking with this, like giving characters big and small some focus and some substance, I'm down.
Yeah.
And see,
100%.
but also too, it can take this story is so complex that it can take the characters that you do read, that you do follow, and tie it into this story.
Yeah,
So if they ever did, they probably won't because they never do standalone Submariner stuff anymore. But if they ever did, like, and a whole like Namor one, and they tied it into this, I would be like, oh, this is awesome, because I read Namor or like and any other character that I like, FF or like whatever.
Yeah.
You could go and like pick that up because it's tied into this.
right. Well, and see, I don't like the tie-in stuff. Like, I'm of the person that it's like when I buy a book with this name on it, that's what I want. Like, I feel like a lot of the stuff has been intermingled of like, yeah, I bought an Iron Man book, but there's this person showing up and Tony's not in the picture.
But
and
I
all
also
that.
think it's an issue like that because Marvel has this habit of doing tie-ins, but only like 3 issues or 4 issues.
Right.
And it's like people want more. They want to see like, okay, keep going until it's the end. And it's like, no, we just wanted to give you a taste,
Right, but I'm glad this is the first, like, this is character-centric. And it's like, they've got the crazy, like, overpowered batshit Ghost Rider in there, but, like, this is a Thanos book.
Yeah.
And I bought a Thanos book, and God, I got a Thanos book.
And it's
Like,
crazy because because I've been reading Old Man Hawkeye and it's like amazing. But they could tie it into the fact that, in the world on Earth, like in this world, they're like, with Old Man Hawkeye and like, it's kind of tied into Old Man Logan. It's like, oh, we're finally safe. Like everything's okay now. And then they don't realize like that Thanos is just like,
Yeah, well, and because that is
Taking
the
over the
maestro.
universe. Yeah.
So it is one of those things that it
Looming
is
on the
coming.
horizon.
Yeah.
It's looming on the horizon.
oh man.
Well, we've enjoyed our talk this week. Thanos wins. Go out,
Go
read
get
it, go buy
right.
it, download it, find the bootleg man, get a copy. Like go to Kinko's or whatever you got to do. Read this book.
Pick up all the variants.
Pick up all
you
the
know,
variants.
all of them.
If you have any suggestions on stuff we should talk about, please let us know in the comments, or you can find us on the Fan Addict Waco page. Comment there, send us an email.
Talk with us in the comments.
Yeah.
We're not shy. Throw
Exactly.
something at us. You hate us? Let us know. You love us? Let us know.
Please love us.
Please love us.
Hi, Mom.
Give us that validation,
My
please,
mom's
Internet.
not gonna watch this. Yeah. So shooting from King's Landing, beautiful King's Landing, across from Bankston's Comics and Cards. We are Fan Addict Waco. This has been Coffee and Comics. Thanks, guys.
Bye.